If you are a parent, you undoubtedly know how hard it is to get your kids to follow directions. But as a prepper, you also know how important it is that your kids are not only knowledgeable, but also on board with your prepared mindset. So, how do you get your children involved with your prepping? Stick around. I'll show you how. Hey guys, and welcome to Start Prepping Now, where we offer tips and tricks to help you become a better prepper and homesteader. So today we're talking about how to get your kids involved in prepping. Prepping itself can be a fun and productive way to bond with your child, but if you go about it the wrong way, it can also be terrifying to them. For that reason, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build a plan today on how to get your kids more involved with prepping. Before we start going down this topic, I just want to advise you, talk to your child's other parent. Whether that's your spouse, your significant other, maybe your ex. I would definitely have a conversation with them ahead of time just to let them know what you're thinking, what your plan is, so that it doesn't come off the wrong way when your child starts talking about it to them. Make sure they understand that you only have your child's best interests at heart, and set a few ground rules on what you both agree is and is not acceptable to do and to talk about with your child. That way nobody gets upset, nobody's feelings get hurt, and your child doesn't get confused if the other parent isn't as passionate about this topic as you are. Now that we have that disclaimer out of the way, let's kind of go over a few different things. First off, it's going to be much easier for you to get your child involved in prepping if you start at a young age. That doesn't mean that if your child's a teenager that it's impossible to get them interested or involved in prepping for your family, but it's just a much easier thing to do if you start when they're younger. Since you've already discussed this with your spouse, I recommend sitting down with your child and having an age-appropriate conversation on what prepping is and why you do it. Why are you so passionate about it, and how does that benefit them? Again, the key here is age-appropriate. The conversation you have with your 4-year-old is going to be much different than the conversation you would have with your 12-year-old, so plan accordingly. While you're planning, I recommend rehearsing this conversation in the mirror, just like you did when you asked out your crush in high school. Go over this over and over again and have it pretty set. Prepare for any questions that you expect them to ask, and prepare for questions you might not expect them to ask. Just because your child's 4 or 5 doesn't mean they don't have some insights that you're unaware of or some preconceived ideas. You never know what they've heard from other people, other family members, so make sure you're on your toes and ready to go, and always be honest with your children. There is absolutely nothing to be gained from telling your 5-year-old the world is ending, so please, I advise you to tread lightly. The goal here is that they are not scared and that they are interested, not that you scare them into submission. Nobody wins in that scenario. Make sure the conversations you have are very much appropriate for their age as well as their personality. Some things you could talk about is explaining why you have a stockpile of food. Why do you have more food than other people seem to? You could talk about why a garden is so important to you guys, and why mom or dad, whoever you are, is going to the shooting range once or twice a week. Inform them that you're going so that you can practice, so that you can keep them safe if something should happen. That's all you need to tell them. You don't need to go into great detail. You don't need to have a gory story about some tragedy that you just read about across the country. Nothing to be gained from that. Keep it simple, keep it to the point, and let them ask questions if they have any. Generally speaking, children are more sensitive than adults. With that said, you know your child far better than I do. So, use your better judgment when you bring up different topics. If there's something that you think is going to worry your child, maybe keep that part out for now. Let them come to you asking questions rather than you just giving a whole bunch of information that is either going to overwhelm them or scare them. Alright, that's probably the least fun part of this whole video, so it is very important. It is very important that you're upfront with your kids, but that's going to be the least fun part. Kind of like having the birds and the bees talk is not all that fun for either part. So what are some ways that you can get your child involved once you've had that conversation? That's what you want to know. That's why you're here. What are some ways that you can get your child involved? Let's start going over those. A fun one is to make their own bug out bag with you. Of course, you have some ideas on what should be in their bug out bag, and depending on their age, they may have no idea what you're talking about. So this is a great opportunity for you to kind of share some knowledge with them, right? Things that they may need, right? So maybe a water bladder, a canteen. First aid kit is a great thing, especially for kids. It's never too early for a kid to start learning first aid, even if it's just putting a bandage on a little scrape they got. That's great. They're learning how to do that. Another cool thing you can do is, I am a big believer in having morale boosting items in your bug out bag, such as a pack of cards or hard candy or bubble gum or something like that. Maybe a pencil and piece of paper, something to boost your morale if you're down while you're bugging out. I invite you to let them tell you what they would like in there. Maybe if you put a pack of cards in there but they don't know any card games and they absolutely hate playing cards, that's a horrible morale booster. The fun thing is not fun, that defeats the purpose. That makes the situation even worse. Invite them to tell you. Not only are you going to get a customized bug out bag for your child, but you are going to learn some fun stuff about your kids. You're going to learn the things that are most important to them. Of course, don't let them tell you they want an iPad in there. But you're going to learn the things that they find fun, the disconnected, unelectronic things. And that is great. That's exactly what you want in their bag. If there's a scenario where you need to be on the move for a while, you want something to keep them positive. This is a great opportunity to learn what those things are. This is a great opportunity to bond with your kids, and they now have a bug out bag, which is great. This is one that I think absolutely everybody should do. Once you've completed your bug out bag, fun doesn't stop there. Take them on a camping trip, guys. Go camping. Have them take their bug out bag with them so they can use it in a real life scenario. They get to try out the glow sticks for trail markers. They get to see that. They get to try out their life straw, water purification straws. They get to try out all this fun stuff you just put in their bag. And so now, should you need it, they actually know how it works. That's fantastic. They know what it is and how it works. You get to see their morale boosters in action. You get to see, well, that did exactly what I was hoping it would. Or maybe they change their mind and say, you know what, I said a pack of cards, but I probably should have packed crayons. Okay, cool, we can do that. You get to see this thing in action, plus they get to learn survival skills depending on how camping you go, right? If you're going to a campground, maybe not as much. If you've got a scenario where you can go to some woods or something like that and camp, where you have to gather your own firewood, you have to do these things, that's fantastic. Teach them how to make a fire. Teach them how to do this. Teach them how to scout for animals. Whether you're hunting or not hunting, whatever. See if you can't find some animals, and they learn these skills and they're having fun while doing it. This is a fantastic way to get your kids involved in prepping, and all you're doing is going camping. That's perfect. Who doesn't like camping? If you have to hike to your campsite, this is a fantastic way to find out how their hunting boots work and how is their hiking stamina, right? If you're 1 mile into a 2-mile hike and they are just giving up, well, then you know you've got something to work on them with. That might mean you go on family hiking trips. That might mean you go whatever, right? You do something to counter the problems you're having, and your child is getting better for it, and they're having fun because they're doing something with mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa, whatever the scenario is. I think this is another great thing about a camping trip, is it allows you to explore so many different things while doing one activity. This is perfect. If your child is in public school, then they, and I assume private schools as well, they are already doing fire drills, and depending where in the country you live, they are already doing tornado drills. If you live in the Midwest. One awesome way to get your child involved is to have them help you plan the family fire drill or the family whatever drill, right? Have them help you plan it. When is it? Where's the fire, right? So like if you're doing fire drills, you may say the fire's in the kitchen, you can't go in the kitchen. The fire's in this hallway, you can't go in this hallway. And then that helps everybody understand, okay, there's multiple ways out of this house, we have to utilize them. Have your child help you plan those. Do them once a month for 6 months or something like that. And then have your child help you also come up with new plans. Where is the family supposed to meet in the case of a fire? What if the fire's here? Do we all still meet here? Where do we go? your child is going to learn so much more about these things, and they're going to think it's cool because at school somebody else organizes it, and but at home they get to be part of the fun. They get to be part of the in crowd who gets to work on these things, and your child's going to love that. They're going to feel important, they're going to feel special, and I highly recommend it. If you've got more than one child, of course, alternate, so that it's not always one kid or not always the other kid. Alternate. And then they both get the benefit of learning from the inside of the other child as well, and you, of course. Another option, of course, is food preparation. If you can your own food, if you preserve your own meat, things like that, if you're a hunter, a fisherman, food preparation is a great way to get your kids involved as well. With that, they, depending on age, they could do anything from being the lid gatherer to packing the jars, whatever that looks like. Pick age-appropriate tasks and do your best to find tasks that aren't horribly dull, right? Like if your child wants to help you run the food processor, absolutely let them, as long as they're old enough and you can supervise them. Fantastic. Get them as involved as you possibly can, obviously without putting them at risk. But teaching them this now will help them later, and it'll help you later as well, because as your family grows, as your kids get bigger, they eat more, you're going to need to can more. This is a great way to help lighten your workload while keeping them happy and involved. So food preparation is a big one for me. I really think this is something everybody should do, as long as you do can your own food. Hunting, fishing, foraging, trapping, all these different things are another great option to get your kids involved. Maybe they're not particularly directly prepper related, but they're going to learn a lot of skills while they're out in the woods with you. Everything from tracking animals to cleaning their animals, you know what I mean? From that to the preservation of meat, how to discard unneeded pieces, like the innards and stuff, what to do with that sort of thing. And it's also going to teach them to respect nature. It's going to help teach them to respect to clean up after themselves outside, to not leave trash and stuff laying around, which obviously is great. Everybody would agree. The thing I like about it, though, is if you are young and you're a hunter and a fisherman and that sort of thing with your parents or with an uncle or something like that, that tends to be a hobby that sticks with you for life. And I feel like there's so much to be gained as a prepper from having that knowledge, even if you do not consider hunting a prepping activity, which is totally fine. I just feel like it teaches you a lot of discipline, and discipline is very important for a prepper or a homesteader, especially for that matter as well. So that sort of thing would be another thing you can do, and it's a great way to bond with your child. You may only be out in the woods with your child 2-3 weekends a year hunting, but those are 2 or 3 weekends a year that they're going to talk about likely for the rest of their lives, especially if they get to harvest an animal. So that is something I would add as well. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. We could go on for hours about different things you could do to get your child involved in prepping. If you're watching this and you already have some other ideas than what I've stated, please comment below so that other viewers can get a bigger list to help get their children involved in prepping before it's too late, before they don't have the opportunity to do that. Alright guys, that's it for this one. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, please do me a favor and subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you can be notified every time we post content. We're here to help you become a better prepper and homesteader. Thanks a lot guys. Until next time, happy prepping.